impressive to see how much he's been able to just take a matchup and just improve, like really become way more solid. Like, because he could always win maps, Clem, right? But he was never able to, I'd say, consistently win out. And now it's just, it's amazing to see, because it really does feel like that progress is visible in his gameplay as well, which is awesome to see. Is in the top right hand side. We're going to introduce the other player first, because that's where the game spawns us. Our red Terran is ByuN.
And spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, as our blue Terran, it is Clem. You know what's also very interesting about Clem as well? And very often I tell players not to do this. Like, you know, when you get new guys, it's like, okay, how do I get to the next level? I'm always like, okay, you've had lots of pro gamers doing all the work for you, like all the testing, all the practicing. Like they've come up with really damn good styles. It's a good idea to kind of like emulate them and see what they go for. But Clem very often will kind of do his own thing a little bit. Like I've seen very often on this map specifically, he'll be doing like a Cloakless Banshee. He's obviously very micro-centric and does a lot of his own moves with that kind of stuff. And even like TVPs, I'll see a lot of people just doing like 3CC builds very often. Clem's still doing like 3 barracks, but he can do more with his units than anybody else, seemingly, which is something we used to say about ByuN. Okay, he's going for a reactor.
Yeah.
You know what this usually leads into, right?
It's some kind of like Reaper Hellion sort of super aggro 1-base build, right?
Yeah, with like a starport. And you just keep on cranking out Reapers. I'll play Ziggy doing this on ladder, and I'll be like, God damn it, Ziggy, why are you doing this awful build? But it can absolutely catch you out pretty often. One of the first guys that I saw doing it was like, I think it was Maru against TY, and when I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, that's going to break the meta. It was good for about 2 weeks, but it's good against Terrans that are a bit overly crazy. And the fact that ByuN hasn't scouted, and he's done what he's done here, ByuN is absolutely a greedy boy, but it's kind of going to pay off this game, I feel.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it just feels... you know, it's so funny because I feel like Clem has so much potential with these units as well, because he's so good at controlling them, but so is ByuN, right? Like, ByuN is one of the reasons we talk about micro Terrans, right? Because he was just so good at getting... He just said, you know, Clem's really good at getting the most out of his units. Well, so is ByuN, right? But this is a little bit different from Clem than what I was expecting. There's no starport in play. So...
it's not as all-in as the... as the usual opening. And ByuN, like... Wardy, I can't tell you how greedy this is. This is like one gas into Reaper. Oh my god! Like this is gambling. This is gambling for like no reason whatsoever. I hope he gets punished by Clem, but we'll see what goes on.
Yeah, we're just gonna be seeing Clem coming up across the map. Just gonna go for this fight, but. I mean, with the high ground advantage and the Widow Mine especially, the Widow Mine is just so good because it forces this. It should force something back away or a unit to be given up right away. And just losing the first unit can kind of suck here as you're not going to see him diving in onto the Hellion. So only 1 bit of splash damage going off, and the micro potential still there with the Reapers and the Hellion. But we're about to have a medevac. I'm not sure how much that really is going to help. It's going to be a while until we have anything other than Marines here.
And Clem's actually going for his own medevac behind us as well, which is really cool. He's actually got a 5th and 6th Reaper coming across the map as well. He's obviously being a bit careful because he doesn't want to run into a Cyclone or a tank or anything, but he can definitely look at this so far and be like, hey, this actually wasn't bad for me at all. And it isn't an all-in opening. I mean, obviously these units lose value over time, but this is absolutely all okay for him because he's got a CC up and running behind us as well.
Yeah, I mean, he needed to do something, right? Because imagine he hadn't done anything here as well. Hold that thought, because we do have a fight. Beautiful grenade. Hits dead center of the Marines. Makes it more difficult for ByuN to fight. You can still just see that ByuN's ahead by a couple of workers, right? So it was important that Clem got something done. Otherwise, he would have been much further behind. I want to say this is going to come out with the game kind of evening. It really depends what these Reapers and Hellions still find. He's on 4 Reapers and 2 Hellions right now, and he's got the medevac full of units too. So this little push is going to really determine a lot as the tank gets there right up close and aggressive, and he is going to force that Cyclone to lift up so it loses its lock on. Now it goes down. Clem actually just has too many units here as he runs on in. He doesn't even need the siege tank.
No, he doesn't, and ByuN is getting punished for being an absolute greedy boy here. And This is Clem coming out with, again, something that, oh my god, he's going to kill the CC. This is it. This is game over. Game over. Like, ByuN, too greedy, just absolutely punished. And Clem came in with his own thing as well. And I mean, that turret drops down. It probably wanted to deal quite a bit more than it did. And wow, Clem is sitting pretty, man. He is sitting more than pretty this game. ByuN's set back to the Stone Age. Just very impressive by the young Frenchman.
Yeah, I mean, just the build that worked out really at the end of the day. He really kind of played it well too, right? He didn't overcommit the units. He knew he had a follow-up attack coming, and it wasn't really clear until the follow-up attack hit what he could really get done, and then he made the most of it, absolutely. Now he gets rid of one tank right away. He's going to win against the second tank with his own tank still alive. There's a Banshee, which is great defensively. It is going to push this back, but the damage is done. 14 worker lead, a base lead. You're building a third. You've got a third CC finish while your opponent's building his natural. Clem has everything in his hands. He's even got the army supply advantage as this all-in push of ByuN comes across the map to try, and he needs to like kill an entire mineral line and still have units left over to be in this game. Yeah,
and I mean, there's double Raven back at home. There's 2 tanks here. I think ByuN's going to get here, and he's going to be like, well, yeah, this is game over. And because yeah, you see that and you realize how dead you are. And like the thing is, Clem, I haven't seen anybody really go for the build that Clem did. So I don't know if that's a Clem special or what have you, but it worked out in. I don't know how much ByuN necessarily studies his opponents, but he feels very much like a player that just worries about his own thing, right? Like he and gets his builds nailed down and really executes them. Like I remember when he won BlizzCon, he was streaming up until BlizzCon kind of thing. He didn't care that people knew what he was going to do. But Clem, like that build that he went for, it definitely felt like he did some studying, kind of figured him out a little bit, because that was absolutely the most beautiful counter I've seen from a build.
Yeah, no, you're right. ByuN is the kind of guy that just doesn't care at all. He will just, you know, it's really crazy, that difference to me, where some players will just play in anything and everything, stream all day, and then still show up and be like one of the best, like Hero Marine, right? And, you know, he streams all of the time. He streams everything that he plays basically, and then he still shows up and he's consistently at the top of the European scene. It's crazy when some people go to all extents to really to show absolutely nothing at all, you know, about their play.
Yeah, it definitely shows like different mindsets and different approaches to the game. And I know we don't often talk about like reactive players and like assertive players and stuff. Like if I mention a name like a Laser, he reacts in a different way, but it's all before the game. It's not during. Like he will do a lot of research into players, and he'll look at how to kill them and their potential weaknesses in their builds. And he'll be like, okay, if he does this, it means he's going for X build. If he does this, he's going for Y build. And if I do this, it beats either or, you know, like he'll really kind of get it down like that. By the way, ByuN, so he's actually going for a no scout expand again. So we talked about it, that he can be a predictable little fella. In fact, maybe the most predictable. He is absolutely a gambling boy. Like if he does this again, and you know Clem gets the time to just kind of rewind the game. If you proxy Durax him, he's dead, man. He's dead. There's no chance.
Yeah, no, he has no idea about this. Like he has, even the Reaper, right, just moves onto the map. It kind of scouts to the side, but I don't even feel like that's a proxy Durax side.
No, and it's a reactor right away as well. Like
yeah, it's so greedy. Wow. He needs to be careful with this Reaper too, because if you lose that Reaper, this game ends by the Reaper Hellion follow-up as well. So he needs to be a little careful, which he is. He's keeping the Reaper kind of back on his side of the map. And we'll see what, I mean, in the end, this time around, Clem's just going to expand more regularly, right? Expands right away, now goes into a reactor after 2 Reapers, so it's just going to be 2 Reapers and a Hellion with a starport setting up. Looks like Clem might even line up a tech lab on that factory after this Hellion finishes.
Yeah, the build that he's going for, you often get like a Widow Mine out after it, just because you can't really spend, if you get the tech lab now, you can't spend, you don't have the resources to get like a Cyclone afterwards and a Raven, so the Widow Mine definitely helps this out a little bit. One of the real big things is Clem going to go for like a Widow Mine drop with Marines, or is it going to be a tank drop? Because I mean, that tank push that he did, he definitely microed really damn well and really aggressively and strong. So I'm kind of curious as to, in fact, they're both going for medevacs here. This could be one of those moments where they both see each other in the middle of the map and they're like, all right, what do we do now?
Yeah, the little kind of like early game base trade. We see so many of these TvTs that can turn out to be like both players losing their entire mineral lines in the first 5 minutes because they just avoid each other, or the medevacs see each other and they fly past each other anyway and they just go for it. These games can get very hectic very quickly, so really going to be important to see how each of them responds. Obviously, right now they don't know. First medevac loads up, it's Clem's, and now the medevac of ByuN loads up, and away we go with, again, very few units left at home on either side.
Yeah, Clem was a little bit faster at getting out onto the map, but you can see like their medevacs, they're going the exact same route, so neither of them will see each other until it happens. It is nice that they both got us. In fact, wait, did ByuN skip a cyclone?
Yes, he did. He did not go cyclone.
He greedy boy.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I mean, the cyclone's going to be huge defensively here for Clem, so maybe just makes Clem's life way easier. Maybe just allows him to get way more out of this. He's actually ByuN going to pull SCVs in with the Marines, and I don't like it. The Widowmine shot goes off. A lot of low health SCVs, so that's going to be easy to punish. As the Cyclone just makes such a difference here. That's a real sturdy unit. He just doesn't quite get the Widowmine. It doesn't matter. The damage done is really in Clem's favor at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm watching both these guys right now. This is exactly what I kind of expected from ByuN. A, he's really good, but B, he is so damn predictable. And Clem's punishing. Oh, he might lose that medevac though. Did he lose the medevac on the other side?
He lost the medevac, and then this attack actually did a little bit more. I'm shocked that he got back in to do so much here, ByuN. He just killed like an extra like 6-7 workers out of nowhere. I guess a lot of them were low HP from the Widowmine shot, and he just got in and got some target firing.
It must be. Like, definitely a lot of damage done there, and you know, if ByuN wasn't so kind of corner cutting, and he actually got that cyclone earlier, he could have actually shut this down so much harder than he did. Like,
yeah,
I know that you can have greedy plays that are actually good plays, but there are also greedy plays that there's no need to be that greedy. And I know that you can often be like, okay, if you're going to go greedy, you might as well go all the way, right? Getting a cyclone out is just handy. It's very helpful in these kind of situations when you've got your whole army in a medevac.
Well, this medevac falls back home, so finally the game will settle down, and there'll not be much else happening. No, as the dust settles, it's a couple worker lead for ByuN. I mean, 1 or 2 SCVs here or there. Those extra few SCVs that he killed off really were kind of the deal breaker, and he obviously kept the medevac alive, which Clem didn't. So that final kind of few seconds of fighting on either side really kind of turned things towards ByuN, and that just caught the game back up from what was definitely a disadvantage from previously, as the Cyclone and Cyclone trade out. There's an extra Raven here. No, okay, it's still 2 Ravens versus 2 Ravens, so not really much difference in the armies.
Yeah, no, I like ByuN keeping that medevac alive is actually a pretty big deal. It's gonna help out in the fight a little bit, and if it doesn't come down to having a fight, at least you have the medevac for later. Meaning, you know, you can just keep on making a few extra Vikings here and there. I guess the one disadvantage that ByuN has is that he used a turret for defense, and boom, Clem actually gets down all his turrets, and ByuN loses a Raven immediately, maybe a second one as well.
Yeah, he's actually going to fly back into the Viking. I think the Viking will commit to kill the Raven. Absolutely worthwhile. His Clem will... his tanks can survive up here. They're fine. He really just dove on that. The auto turrets came down super quickly, and it really benefited Clem in that fight. And Clem comes out of this in a fantastic position.
He certainly does. Starts off his third a little bit sooner. It's really nice to see both these boys respecting the air battle so keenly in getting out so many Vikings. ByuN is he's playing so precarious. Like this position over here, like Clem didn't expect it at all, because very often you think about this arrow between you and your opponent. Like, what's the fastest way across the map? And if you don't respect it or control it, you know, you can be very susceptible to a counterattack. But ByuN was just very happy being in the top left kind of randomly. So got a Raven for his troubles though.
Yeah, the Raven actually was a bit of a surprise. Just Clem kind of had a bit too far forward, and a few Marines, couple Viking shots, and it went down. So Clem now looking to get across the map, as ByuN should be able to stop him from progressing too far forward. The Viking count is pretty even here. I think ByuN maybe has one more just in the fight right from the start, as Clem actually gets the better shots from the tanks right away, but then loses the vision on the tanks, I think, so actually can't continue with those shots for a while. So he loses the tank advantage that he had. I mean, both players are just losing units back and forth throughout the entirety of the fight.
I think it's better for Clem.
Yeah,
but
I think so too. Especially on the cleanup now, right? The extra tank going down.
yeah, it's chaotic, man. It's chaotic to say the least. This is... Does Clem not have engineering base right now?
And he only just started stim as well.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
He's been super committed to this push, dealing the damage that it has done thus far. And I don't know. I think it's almost worth going back home, but maybe he feels like he has to get stuff done if he's been skipping upgrades so hard and skipping stim, and it's all so late, you know?
I guess stim doesn't matter right now because there's actually just so few Marines left from ByuN. It's not actually going to have an impact on a fight, so maybe it's not so bad. The only issue is he's still obviously trying to fight into siege tanks here, right? So that's not going to be pretty, but at least the stim disadvantage isn't going to come into play just yet. The big disadvantage that will come into play is obviously the lacking 1-1 upgrades. So your stim you'll catch up on, combat shields you'll catch up on. Engineering bay upgrades, you're behind on those for the entire game after you fall behind on 1-1. So this is going to be a real continued problem, I imagine.
It's very interesting that Clem, this isn't the only matchup that he kind of forgoes upgrades. I talked about it in like TvP as well a little bit, but he's kind of the guy that would prefer to get out more units, and it kind of makes sense in a way. Oh wow, that was a really nice.
Yeah,
that was really nice by both of them actually.
Yeah, great unsiege, great attempt with the Matrix. He is actually going to, with the Vikings landing, get rid of extra tanks though, and Clem's really just bullied his way into this position because I guess ByuN just doesn't have the numbers to really stop him from doing that, right? Maybe now this is where stim and combat shields will have some sort of a show, but if you pull back to the tanks, it just won't matter because Clem has so many of them. He still can't push into that as ByuN, and that's the problem.
He has to be careful. He has to be careful because there's 3 really low health Vikings and, you know, 5 siege tanks. If ByuN had either medevacs ready to drop on top of this or like a liberator of all things, like this could definitely spell out problems. And only just now is Clem getting his engineering base, so he's absolutely committed to just getting out a ton of units real fast, and 1-1's actually finishing for ByuN here.
Yes, he's going to have a huge 1-1 timing. The slightly good news for the future might be that ByuN is a little late on his armory, so maybe 2-2 isn't as far ahead. But in the here and now, it's about the 1-1 as the Vikings are going to trade out with each other. Nice high ground tank from ByuN is going to clean up a tank of Clem. Clem just reinforced, but again, how do you really push forward into this at all? You'd actually be good if he sent his reinforcements to the third base. The only thing on that third base is a single siege tank. It's so open to attack, and if Clem recognizes it, he can actually just get up there, and that third is in so... I mean, now you've got to basically come down this ramp with these Marines, and the tanks were kind of firing on the single Marines, so the clump of them get down without issue. I guess Clem's going to trade out for a lot of SCVs here. He'll save whatever he can, drops into the main base, or at least threatens to do so. He can't take a Marine on Marine fight because of the upgrade disadvantage.
I gotta say, I think ByuN handled that about as well as he could.
Yeah,
like he caught the tanks out of place. Clem definitely got like 3 tanks thrown away. And it was nice by ByuN as well. He's using his medevac for vision and wasn't really like having to use scans or anything. And Clem, he didn't want to use scans. I don't even know if he had them available, but yeah, ByuN's more than back in this now. Like the upgrade lead that he has, the tank count, he's better in that as well. The one thing that Clem does have is a lot more medevacs, which can absolutely help out, but that upgrade lead is super significant for the time being.
It just really changes what you can do as Clem. Clem couldn't afford with his siege tanks down there, I don't think, because the lack of upgrades, he would have just lost the Marines, and then he would have lost the tanks as well anyway. So I think Clem did what he needed to do, and ByuN did what he needed to do to kind of counteract that play, and it leads us to this position where the numbers are kind of even. Again, the upgrade's the biggest difference. We will have a little while in about 30 seconds where we will have equal upgrades for about, I want to say, a minute-ish, maybe a bit less, like 40 seconds or so. And then it's going to be a question of how quickly does Clem start his 2-2, because he'll be behind once more as, well, Clem just doesn't have his tank siege right now. Is this going to be ByuN pushing forward? The upgrade lead was still there, and Clem chases quite far forward himself with the Marines.
Yeah, I think I don't know if he thought it was just one tank, which he maybe could have won that fight if it was, but the second tank, tanks are so damn good in this matchup. Like, the Marines clump so hard.
Yeah.
ByuN is sacrificing, I think he F2'd back here or something, because leaving those tanks behind, his whole army just kind of left it. So that's 2 tanks, a sensor tower. That's a good, like, 400 gas investment that Clem just took down in the last, like, 5 seconds, and that's pretty damn solid damage, it has to be said.
Now he's going to get a Viking up in the main base as well, and a couple of Marines that run in too soon. And he'll get a few SCVs, so Clem really making things happen with this drop. What a time to get the drop off, right? Really just pulls ByuN back, keeps him distracted for a little bit. And now Clem's actually going to move into the middle of the map. Doesn't quite find the chance to fight, even though the upgrades are even. If there ever was a time to fight for Clem in the last couple minutes, now would have been it. Now we're at the point where 2-2's about to finish for ByuN, so he'll take the upgrade lead once more, but he is struggling with the drop play.
It feels like Clem is playing faster than ByuN right now. And,
yeah.
Okay, so this is a decent timing for ByuN in that 2-2's about to finish, but Clem has so much. He has the medevac lead as well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's got way more tanks than ByuN.
And you know what? In this fight too, ByuN's army was just a little bit less healthy going into the fights as well. So if every Marine has 10 less HP, kind of offsets the upgrade disadvantage a little bit perhaps too. It's these medevacs are just super low energy, so they're not healing everything. As these tanks get killed though, Clem gets caught himself. Man, there's just blow after blow in this game for Muslim. It's like every single second is just one player taking a lead, the other player fighting back. They're just not stopping at all. Although one thing that has stopped is ByuN has not found the chance to go into 3-3 upgrades, so he will lose upgrade advantage at some point. And as the bio here, Clem gets a tank and then backs away back down that ramp.
And also, like, one really big deal that will come in soon, that +2 on the tanks, it means that tanks will then one-shot stimmed Marines, and ByuN, he's totally forgotten the tank upgrades. Like, he hasn't been able to, even though he's got the gas. Mineral-wise, it's, you know, it's a really bad position to put yourself in. And Clem, he's found himself on ByuN's side of the map with a pretty decent army, actually.
This is going to turn into a little bit of a weird base trade, and I don't know if I like it at all for ByuN because his Marines are still just such low HP. Running up this ramp into tank fire, into a few kind of guarding Marines initially as well. He loses so much so quickly. And in comparison, Clem is just dominating over in the natural. A few seconds from now, we're going to be even on upgrades in the Marine War as well, so that's going to help Clem even further. And Clem's army supply is just in way better space to be able to make this base trade happen. And ByuN knows it. He does not have a way to fight this off. Clem is going to take the 2-0 lead in the series.
Clem's playing better, man. He's playing better.
I get it, though. Like, honestly, like, it is crazy because I feel like it makes this matchup so fun to watch because, to me, that's just how ByuN used to be as well. But now Clem is kind of schooling ByuN at his own game almost.
Yeah, it's super damn impressive, man. It really is.
All right, well, Clem's top left, ByuN's bottom right. We'll just bypass intros. We don't need to tell you who is who and where is where every single time. What do you think we get on Lightshade here? If you had to make a bit of a guess as to what the guys are going to bring us here.
Well, I thought ByuN was going to go for the gas first again, but he's actually going for the racks first this time. So maybe rather than him just being or doing the same thing over and over, which he's obviously not now, maybe he has it scheduled out for like which maps he likes certain builds on. But Clem so far, he's going for... Oh, he's going to go for 2 racks. Ooh. Nice.
I like it.
I mean, this is already very different. I did a... I told you before, I did message him, like, after the game, like, hey, did you study ByuN before these games? And he was like, no, I just woke up, actually. you know, I just woke up and just owning this Korean, you know?
Yeah. You know, Clem's this real degen kid, I think. You know, like, low-key, because every time I message, like, I'm a degen myself, right? I stay up late and all sorts. So sometimes I get to, like, 4 a.m., I'm like, crap, I should probably, like, tell these players when they're playing their matches. So I, like, send out info. I'm like, hey, what groups do you want to play for this tournament or something? Clem always replies within, like, 2 minutes. And even if it's, like, 5 a.m. for him, he's like, yeah, that's okay for me. I'm like, why are you awake? I'm like, I checked the TL calendar. It's like, he's got a tournament in 6 hours. I'm like, why are you awake? Like, just up all night playing the Starcraft. Maybe some other games as well. Oh, yeah.
It is actually funny how sometimes the degenerate... Like, I saw Skillis tweeting about this. He was like, I had a normal sleep schedule here in Russia.
Yeah.
Like, I wake up at 8 a.m., but it just doesn't work. And I'm like, mate, that sounds pretty healthy to me. Like, that sounds like that should be working absolutely.
But, I mean, the problem is when the tournaments are, right? Because the tournaments go late. Yeah, it's... this is why I have a bit of a degen schedule, because I don't like... Because if I go to sleep at, like, a regular time, then I'm casting, like, an hour before I go to bed, so I'm tired, you know? So... I have to go to sleep later than that to be, like, better energy when I'm casting still, so...
Absolutely.
I get behind the degeners. The bunker is up. Yes, that'll defend the front, but what's going to defend the actual main base? Well, absolutely nothing at all. Reaper Marine into this reactor is Gonna be kind of tough for a little while. There's not a lot here for ByuN, so he will take some damage off these Reapers as long as Clem's control is good, which it should be. He's gonna get one SCV, gets a shot on the Reaper, resets the regeneration, and he's gonna turn it around. It'll be a Reaper for a Reaper, but that's still good here for Clem, who now gets the Marine and has free reign over the mineral line until this Hellion pops out.
Yeah, I mean, he's already dealing really good damage, and like ByuN, he's just... I'm not going to say it anymore, Wardy. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. Like,
is it something about him being a greedy boy?
It's about him being a greedy boy, Wardy. And you know, like this opening by Clem, it isn't an all-in or anything like that. It's just a light bit of pressure that normally you just end up with like 2 barracks, and you know, it's not really meant to get anything really done. But given that ByuN is just doing what he does, he's not really kind of... I feel like he doesn't really react to his opponent. He just does whatever he does. And Clem, he's playing really good.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you say? I sound fucking boring, Wardy. I sound so boring.
I'm with you, man. I'd be saying the exact thing. I mean, I'm playing the cool game. I'm letting you do the talk, but I'm with you. There's not much you can really say about it. ByuN is being a bit too greedy. Clem's basic pressure builds are killing him. You know, they're getting way more damage than they should ever get done. This is really not meant to happen. Like, the damage Clem just did is the sort of damage I expect to happen if ByuN, like, really messes up the micro and loses the first Reaper for free. Then maybe Clem does that amount of damage, but this was not that. It was just ByuN was so greedy that he couldn't defend it. So you lose 6 workers, you're behind on workers now, and Clem's already, because he's on 2 racks, on his way to stim, so the pressure is going to pile up here in the next minute or 2.
This could definitely cause some damage, like this tank push, because Clem's obviously got a lot of Marines out on the field, and he didn't have a bunker up there. He's even getting a 3rd CC real damn fast. And even though he has the Cyclone, there is a lovely position on this map. I've seen Clem often do it, where you can get the tank sieged and hit the mineral line on the natural. And it's actually quite hard to break out of. And Clem's actually gone for double medevac behind all this too. So, yeah, he's not going to be able to deal with this super well. That one Marine does kind of scout what's going off here. But that tank is in that position, Wardy.
This is really just a timing issue for Clem, right? In 30 seconds, he gets stim, and you know he can get a medevac to kind of create a bit of a flank, a bit of a concave on this tank position. Then he's in a great spot, but until then, it's a little bit tricky for him. So, yeah, this tank definitely causing problems, and now there's going to be a second tank coming along, and that's going to be even more difficult for Clem to deal with, obviously. As right now, not mining from the natural, and his orbital command taking quite some damage.
Yeah, this is some nice control by ByuN, like picking up the guys to get locked on and stuff. But stim is done really soon, and very often we can look at this and be like, oh yeah, stim's great, right? But then that means that Marines get one shot, so it's going to be real chaotic, real damn fast, and these tanks, oh, big damage.
Yeah, the tanks did a lot right away there. He's going to get rid of one of them, but the other's still firing, and Clem losing SCVs in this trade out. ByuN is actually going to get himself a lead in a game for once. I feel like that's almost the first time.
It is. Like, he's getting his own 3rd now. He's getting double engineering bay behind this. He's kind of got himself into a 2-1-1 situation, which is also very, very odd. But yeah, we just have to see how this pans out. Like, Clem's got so much gas that I don't know what he's going to use it on. I don't know why he's got so much gas, actually.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan... The problem is, right, it's just like he's not building anything that's so gas intensive. He's building 2 medevacs and a tank on... You know, that's pretty much it on his production cycle. It's not like he was ever going to go into Ravens here, because he was setting up for the medevacs very early. As talking about Ravens, one shows up, and ByuN will get a couple more SCVs and force a game just to pull away. Every time you force those workers to pull away, it's more mining time lost. Now SCVs go back onto the minerals, which the tanks reach, which means you lose another one as well. All the little things right now just adding up as... Clem is still going to be very far ahead on stim, but I'm not sure he's ever going to find himself in a fight that can really make the difference on that anyway.
Oh, that was a nice lock-on, though, onto this medevac.
Yeah, it is.
It does. Yeah, gets the medevac, gets the tank, and he's probably going to get the cleanup on the Marines as well. Loses the Cyclones. That was a nice bit of, like, well, if these are going down, then get your Cyclone at least. But Clem, with the fact that he's going to have combat shields so much earlier, he definitely does have a bit of a window to do stuff and maybe kind of strangle his opponent while he's taking his own 3rd. And he's also doing stuff like getting a Liberator as well, which... That is not, most likely not going to be used in the army engagement itself, but dealing economic damage. So the game, it's kind of evened itself out in a weird way. The one advantage that ByuN has is that he's going to have much faster upgrades and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of plays out back in that game number 2, right? Faster upgrades here from ByuN. Clem has a little bit more army to work with right now. He is going to be faster on the upgrades compared to the last game, and where ByuN is at too, though. So that is going to help for sure as the Marines. Just going to keep the third CC from landing. Of course, that gives Clem... It means that ByuN has more workers, but he's not mining with those workers, right? So it doesn't really matter that he's got the worker advantage. So Clem's army movement here is offsetting the fact that he should be behind economically, and it will give him a chance to catch up. And by the time ByuN actually mines from the third base, it might just be that Clem's caught up in workers in that point.
Ooh. Okay, that was yeah, that's definitely a blunder by Clem, and this is nice play by both of them. You know, it's a game of picking up the tank, saving them. ByuN's trying to buy time here.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yes.
Losing the Liberator, that was just causing ByuN a lot of trouble, forcing him to lift up, forcing him to relocate, all those kind of things. The Marines and the tanks pull back up the right side here from Clem, so moving up to the top, and the SCVs, they're going to move over to this right-hand side and get mining as well. So, ooh, Clem, though, gets pretty good position. All these SCVs are going to be on their own. Clem, he's going to give up the tanks, but you know what? I think it might be worth it for the 10+ SCVs he gets here. Gets 10 workers. He's going to turn and actually fight the Marines. Remember, he's got combat shields, and even though he's down the 1-1, combat shields makes a pretty big impact on these Marine fights, too.
It definitely does. Like 10 health versus 1-1 upgrades, and I mean, this has just been a real good fight for Clem, and doesn't actually pick off any tanks.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't lift up. It was almost like he thought about it, then he thought, oh, I can get tanks, and then it's a little bit of indecision because he also target fired down the CC for a bit longer. Like he thought he was going to get the kill on that, which he might have also been able to do if he just stepped away to the right side, away from the tanks for a while.
Yeah. Like Clem, he doesn't want to take these fights right now. Like he's okay. Now his 1-1 is finished. He is against a really healthy tank count, which is definitely problematic for him. But as long as he slows down this fight, and that's the big thing here, Clem isn't really looking for a super engagement like into ByuN. What he wants is to slow this down, but also, obviously, he wants to fight on his terms.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't want to just run in and head first into these tanks or anything, but at some point he might have to think about doing something like that, because now these tanks are getting into aggressive spots where they don't quite reach the natural yet, but it's not far from that happening. The good news is that Clem just about got his tank line up himself, so he can stop these tanks coming any further forward. Now ByuN's going to try and go a different direction, this time toward the third base.
Yeah, this sensor tower is definitely going to help out quite a chunk here. Means he can spend way less scans and stuff. And the upgrade, it's evened out a bit. And even though they've both got like 2-2 started, it's almost negligible. And now it's going to come down to like a real game of TvT. I am a bit like, okay, there's a Raven out here and an anti-armor missile, or, you know, 2 interference matrices could do a world of good for ByuN. But Clem, he's done a good job of kind of like surviving this little bit of the danger zone, if you will.
Yes, he definitely put himself in some trouble with the army supply when he traded out on that bottom right side, but didn't let ByuN capitalize on it at all. So doing a fantastic job because of that. And well, 2-2 on the way at pretty similar times as well. ByuN did the typical ByuN thing, which is starting the armor upgrade before attack. He keeps doing this. He never ends. It never stops.
It is funny how it is very obviously not good.
Yeah.
But it keeps on happening, kind
it's
of
just
thing.
a muscle memory, right? Like he just learned it like that and he never changed.
Yeah, I mean, like if he uses standard hotkey, then it's, yeah, pressing like AW instead of WEA kind of thing. But I don't know exactly what he uses, but yeah, it definitely benefits him a lot more if he kind of, even if he switched those hotkeys around kind of thing for him. Oh, yeah. Big tank shots.
Yeah, beautiful tank shots in on those Marines, so doing a fantastic job of that. At the same time, big push on the right side. Clem does have tanks sieging, though, and ByuN's army is just heavily overstimmed on that right side, so it's going to be tough to justify coming back into a fight there. The medevacs obviously can do some healing, but they're going to get drained of energy pretty quick. And Clem losing a few SCVs, but once again holding on and defending.
He certainly is. He's got to be a little bit worried about the idea of ByuN dropping into his main in the kind of position that he's found himself in here, right? Because if those Marines at the top right just end up going into the main, you get yourself into a bit of a problem. It is funny how ByuN just... Oh my god, I don't... Okay, Clem's going for a big wraparound here.
Yeah, he's going to go. Auto turret's going to protect ByuN's top side of this fight, but the Marines are just going to crush through. They're going to get rid of all of those siege tanks, and Clem is going to be the winner of that one, coming out with a big cleanup.
And this is what I was kind of talking about. Like, wait, where's the tank shoot? That was Clem's tank shooting the. I was like, holy crap, these Marines pack a punch these days. But yeah, that tank is going to do a good job of just kind of like making sure he doesn't take unnecessary damage here. ByuN has started up his 3-3 real fast this game, so no worry for him there. Does he have a 4th CC though? No. This whole time, while he had pressure on the other side of the map, totally didn't go for a 4th, and he's actually just floating over his main, and yeah. I don't like that at all for him. Oh, this is a nice big stim by him, though. Going to get a few tanks here.
Going to get more than just a few tanks. A lot of Marines, the medevacs too, and Clem just dropped 30 supplies, so killing nothing in the process. He just had no Marines in the army to really stop those Marines running forward. I looked at what was back home, and even then he doesn't have a lot of Marines, but he obviously had a lot more tanks. And yeah, Clem gets caught off guard, and all of a sudden ByuN takes a massive army supply lead, and he can go right back to being aggressive.
He definitely can, and he's got those drops still on the top side of the map, and he does scan. He's going to deal pressure at this 3rd base, and he's dealing pressure at the 4th base as well. Like, this is absolutely what ByuN wants, and he's not making more SCVs, even though he's only on 57, but he did float over his main. I mean, he's definitely getting a bit of a stranglehold on Clem here, and Clem's definitely worried, and he has to defend so many spots here at once.
Yep, Marines come through, and we just see a big tank shot, and he gets the full medevac, so at least gets a little pick off there in the main base, still relying on his tanks to defend. He's going to get really good tank shots. ByuN's army is just clumping back up together, and you can just see the power. Just again, ByuN's Marines, low HP running into the fight, and ByuN loses a ton of army supply this time to even things out again.
This is a real slugfest, this one, a true slugfest. ByuN's got more Marines than sense almost in this game, and they're both running into each other's tank lines. ByuN's +3 armor is finished, and Clem now is the one taking a massive beating here, but he has to defend this 3rd at all costs, but he also doesn't really know what kind of shape. Oh, he's going to lose that 3rd, he's going to lose it. He does.
Couldn't really do enough to save it in time. The Marine damage output was too high. Now drops back up into the main base where there are Marines waiting, and Vikings though. And he get the full medevac that's low HP. Not quite. The Vikings will not get that kill. Here's a good shutdown from Clem, but obviously losing a CC. Well, I mean, he's just going to move his main base over. He's going to pull a ByuN here. Obviously, the difference is you're still down that orbital, so it's still less scans, it's still less mules.
Yeah, but he does have one much safer base in that it's a PF, right? But what kind of trade-off would you like in that kind of situation? I'm not even sure, but yeah. Oh my gosh, those tanks in the south spot are dealing a lot of damage continuously, even getting... That was a sensor tower, right?
Yeah, it's
that was a lot.
Good zoning position, right? Just really... Oh, yes, the scan on the high ground. So he's going to get, what, 2 more tanks as well. Now Marines stim in, but expensive for Clem, who pulls back to his own tank fire, but his tanks are so far back on that high ground, he has to pull really far back. Just about works out, but now the drop is back in the main base. Clem is losing his engineering base. He's got +3 attack but no armor upgrades, so... and actually doesn't even quite realize that he rebuilds double engineering bay elsewhere on the map, which obviously he doesn't need. He's already got +3 attack done, so... He is going to be in some trouble on the 3rd base yet again. These tank positions are just becoming a little bit too much, and Clem at some point is just going to have to push on into it.
Oh, I was worried that orbital was going to die there. You know, after all said and done, and ByuN's dealt so much damage, they're still so close in supply, which is like, it just shows how kind of all in ByuN is with this. Like, the fact that he never made a 4th, there's no 5th, or like, there's still no 4th on the way for him. He's been on one factory the whole time, and he's kept his minerals and stuff low, but his economy's never been super damn good this game.
Yeah, I mean, even ByuN is still just working on so little as we see Clem. These few Vikings actually making such a big difference, right? Pushing the medevacs back, just keeping a bit of that air control. It is maybe the biggest difference of all right now, and ByuN's going to respond to it by actually building a couple Vikings of his own. So maybe looking to fight back in the air. But of course, Clem is still mine of just as many bases as ByuN is. Obviously, the issue is Clem is traded out worse, so he, in the end, is going to be the one that needs an extra base at some point a little bit more quickly than ByuN will, as he's just going to move forward, and that Liberator goes down in an instant.
It's also, like, Clem hasn't had any tank upgrades go in this game, which is also a massive deal, right? Because even though ByuN's only on +1, the +2 is really the magic number when it comes to tank upgrades. That is a lot of tanks that all of a sudden showed up, though, and boom, big fight going on.
Yeah, Clem's is going to commit to it. He wants to break out right here and now, and he is going to get a pretty good trade. He is going to get on top of all of the siege tanks, takes those down. I mean, it's a really good fight, but he gives him 26 SCVs to do it, of course, at a point in the game, I guess, where he maybe doesn't need those 26 workers, but it also means he can't take those 26 workers to a new base if he's ever able to establish one. So ups and downs. He's going to start pushing across the map. ByuN is, I don't know what he's doing with these 4 medevacs. They've moved in so many different directions so many times now. He's going to unload them to the top side, and I guess he'll maybe go for the play to just kill that orbital and really force Clem to be all in on the push.
Clem must see this army being way smaller than he kind of thought it was a few minutes ago, right? And a nice attack by ByuN. Like, he's getting real game-ending damage done here. Clem's actually down to 1 orbital now as well, which means fighting is going to be way harder, not knowing where your opponent is.
Yeah, he's committed to this push, though. You know, I didn't realize Clem has 13 siege tanks to the 4 of ByuN. The problem is getting those into positions where you can actually make stuff happen is going to be difficult. He kills off 1 here. Well, he needs to go down and deny this bottom side orbital, right? You cannot let that mine, Clem. He's so close to seeing it, but he just doesn't quite get there. If you can just deny that mining base, maybe there's some hope, because the army supplies, I want to say, are still close enough to maybe play out if you stop ByuN from ever building anything else here or mining anymore. He is looking as though he wants to drop into the main base, which is going to be scary because, hey, there's a lot of Marines already waiting there. There's not going to be enough chance to unload and to make anything happen.
It is so sad that he doesn't know about that CC, right?
I know.
Like, it's so sad. Because his army is actually, like, this amount of tanks, stopping that with what ByuN has. How many tanks? He has 4 tanks, 87 Marines. So, yeah, I mean, that is not an army you want to be dealing with, like, a ton of tanks, really.
Yeah, no, it's, Clem's tank count is actually terrifying. But I guess if you can keep on just rebuilding more Marines, then it's not really going to matter, because eventually these tanks are going to get cleaned out. We're going to see a bit of a move now, and I mean, even just this, a few tanks going down, right? And it's just progress for ByuN, and he loses Marines that realistically he can replace because he's still mining.
He can, but he's running into quite a few siege tanks here from multiple angles, so he's going to get...
He doesn't even get a kill. Doesn't even get a kill. The tanks are absolutely the problem. Clem has an army supply lead. Remember, he's still kind of holding some units back at home as well, though, to stop this drop from getting any further forward. Oh, man, what a ridiculous game this turned out to be. He's going to find himself an orbital kill here with these Vikings, so just taking away some opportunity for ByuN to mine more. ByuN, who is also long distancing in the upper right-hand side. Extra money for him as Clem slowly encroaches on this right side base.
Oh, and ByuN, he's kind of going for it again. Like, he's buying time here, and that's what he's really trying to do. But and ByuN's running for his life at this point. Is one of his only mining bases. Clem's getting real damage done here. And when you see that this army comes back in the north as well for Clem, maybe he can move out with his army as well.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing the... is ByuN going to try and wrap around here? This puts a tank in a bad position. It goes down instantly. Units on the bottom side going down as well. All of the SCVs just dying as they long distance, I guess, waiting for that CC to replace elsewhere. Man, I mean, the medevacs keep dying, and that's the issue. These Marines are never getting healthy, so they're constantly being one-shot.
And you know what? Clem's just taken the supply lead after being like 80 supply down.
I know. He's also going to get the bottom left base up, and ByuN is in no real position to go fighting because he has to put everything into defending this. I guess you could argue like a medevac across the map would be good still, but I think he thinks that he needs to just clean this up, which he's not wrong in thinking. But it's going to give Clem the bottom left base and some mining once more.
Yeah, and like these Marines, in fact, that's the last tank in the north. That's the last tank in the north. Now the leapfrogging of Clem can be so much faster up the map. And back at home, he's actually getting a factory again. Like, he's rebuilding his economy. He's getting a PF in the bottom left as well. I mean, it's going to be really hard to take down the extra expansions of Clem, given that, you know, he's so much more fortified.
Yeah, I mean, how many times has ByuN stimmed, by the way, as well, when the Vikings just kind of move forward a little bit? That's definitely been a problem for him. 2 low HP tanks going to siege, but it's enough to get in range of that orbital for now, and he can't lift the orbital because, hey, there's some Vikings here. The orbital is going to go down. There's no repair at all. SCV is going to end up running through the army if he's not careful. He turns them around, but where can they even go to? Can you just imagine? The Planetary Fortress holds bottom left. Can you just imagine Clem killed the 6 o'clock base?
Yeah, Clem would have won this quite a bit of time ago. Like, ByuN, a lot of his workers aren't even mining anymore. In fact, what's the income tab? 33-ish workers against 34. This game is absolutely flip-flopped around like crazy here, and you know, Clem's moving down. He's moving down, getting ready to clear up that army in the bottom left as well.
Oh, he gets a great siege. He's going to be able to get all of the Marines at once. The tanks of ByuN are still firing on the planetary. They're going to get, what, 1, 2 shots maybe on Marines? Huge cleanup from Clem on the left-hand side. And ByuN loses his pressure. Clem can get back to mining. Incredible stuff as he's still got the tanks on the right, and ByuN is just going to run in to clean this up, and he might actually finally have the Marine count to do so.
He did, he certainly did. But the Vikings stay alive, and kind of more importantly, almost, the medevacs. ByuN has absolutely been reset. I can't believe that he stayed on one factory this whole game and he just made Marines and medevacs, basically. You know, like it's been wild, and it just shows you, like, this is the one matchup where tanks could almost be considered in balance. You know, in fact, I would say they're in this matchup. But this has been a wild ass game. Like, it's 100 supply against 98 all of a sudden. Except I do enjoy Clem's army quite a bit more.
Man, I was just looking at units lost. 420 Marines to 220 in favor of Clem. Marines are going to get 40 and they take down the tanks, but then Clem is able to respond. He gets so much damage on the Marines in that time, and he has medevacs that are healthier, so they can still heal during these fights. I mean, this is just a Marine off. 34 Marines to the 20. Clem just has more. SCVs pull in those. They're going to do some important tanking. And that's going to be the difference right now, is that ByuN's SCVs will force Clem to back away.
I think this is actually, like, the coolest thing about this is the resources lost tab. Clem was significantly behind in that because ByuN was just taking better trades, but over the past 10 minutes, Clem has traded way better than ByuN while being down in economy and stuff. What a game between these two.
And when Clem gets these Marines here, I think he can fight. I really think this medevac energy just goes such a long way in this engagement. ByuN is still building a lot of Marines in comparison to Clem, though. But of course, they're not quite rallied out here just yet. This is such a hard fight to judge. I mean, even I can't really tell who has more Marines. I think it's pretty much dead even in these fights. But yeah, then the medevac energy comes into it. The position is obviously huge. And of course, ByuN can pull SCVs back to fight again. That wouldn't be bad for Clem, though, to deny some of that economy. He's got a tank. The tank is a deal breaker. ByuN never got gas mining set up, so he has no siege tank to work with.
He certainly doesn't. He's going in for it. It's a nice wraparound by him, a massive concave, but that tank, he ran in, but he didn't kill it. It's still alive. It's still dealing lots of damage, and ByuN, he's probably going to clean this up, but at the cost of 14 SCVs.
The thing is, ByuN can't kill the planetary, though, right? Because he has no siege tank.
No, exactly. Like, Clem, he's like, damn, I didn't kill you. Like, but it's kind of okay. Like, his economy's way better than ByuN's, and ByuN just kind of sadly mining on one base.
I know.
He didn't make extra SCVs like the whole game pretty much. He was just very happy being on like this not even 3-base economy and just kind of pumping out units. And I'm a broken record. Clem just played a more solid and stable TvT, it felt like.
And now he's got another siege tank up again. Just the fact he has gas mining on this left side. He actually only just took these gases like 2-3 minutes ago. But they have been a game changer because it's given him the gas to really afford tanks, and the tanks making the difference in the fight previously we just saw definitely helped. And now this fight he's going to have tank coverage, so it's only going to help him in the Marine Wars. I mean, ByuN moves in, Clem just pulls back, lets the tank do some work. New tanks spawn, that will unfortunately go down a little bit too easily. Clem's production in some trouble, and that is all of his production.
This is actually like one move that ByuN can do to get well back into this game, because that is his barracks, that's his factory. Like, this is a great play, and it's the only base that isn't a PF. Really good attack by ByuN.
Yeah, really fantastic. I do think ByuN needs at some point, though, to get some tanks, right? If you don't get tanks, beautiful play. Oh, that Marine split away. If ByuN doesn't get gas, how does he ever get rid of these planetaries? I feel like he has to take gas and get tanks at some point, but his economy is so low, and he still just needs to pump out Marines. He's in a real stalemate position. He doesn't quite know what to do for the best, I think, himself.
Yeah, ByuN's done that quite a bit this game, by the way. Like, when he has his blob of Marines, he'll have one extra Marine slightly forward of the rest of the pack, so it'll take the initial tank shots and stuff. It's been something very small, but it's helped so much with these big engagements. But yeah, like, I really think ByuN dropped the ball economically this game, actually. Just one factory only, so he got way behind in tanks. And then just never taking a 4th CC and stuff. It really hurt him a lot.
Clem had to reinvest into infrastructure, which has obviously put him a bit behind on army, but now the infrastructure is up. His army supply should really swell in comparison to ByuN. He's even got an extra CC coming down this bottom side. He's actually going to catch Marines that are not quite with anything else. He actually can just take this fight if he wants to, Clem, and he is going to move in. He's going to try and play the siege tanks, but with the medevac heal, and he just wins that fight. He has more Marines. The healing is good. And ByuN and other Marines now coming around this right side. I guess he's going to try and deny this command center. He probably just says, I cannot let this get up right now.
And I know a lot of people might be thinking, like, why doesn't Clem just go? well, the thing is, Clem doesn't need to. Like, the ball is in ByuN's court, and I think this might be it for ByuN. Like, seeing this, okay, loads up. Where's he gonna go with this?
Yeah, I mean, just gonna find another opening, I guess. What else can you do? He knows that the straight up fight isn't it. That or he goes for like the flank in to engage from this top side too. His medevacs are still out of energy though, because it's the same medevacs. Like, if there was a statistic for how much medevacs had healed, these would be some ridiculous medevacs, because they've been alive forever and they've never had energy.
They certainly have not. That's actually one of the things that I wanted. I wanted like shield battery to show how much they've healed shield wise, and like medevacs with healing as well.
That would be really cool. Just those stats to, you know, see who the most MVP medevac is. These Marines are in some trouble. They are outnumbered, they are out health, and they do not have medevacs any longer either. It's the game-winning move for Clem that will get ByuN to tap out. A 3-0 that, the way the first two games went, I feel like, okay, this series should have been a 3-0. The way this final game went, I feel like you could have maybe seen a different scoreline, but like, God, did Clem just play good to get into some positions from being behind, especially.
Yeah, massive